Welcome to a beautiful, it's almost noon. Can't call it morning anymore. Out here at the river house, and it is the day that unfortunately that thing goes to the ground. It's quite disappointing for all involved. The house literally is where it is because of the size of that monstrous Ponderosa. We just didn't catch that it was infected with the beetles until concrete was poured. But I certainly can't have it looming over the house as it begins to die, and it'd be nice to level out this area for grading and drainage anyways. So the goal today is to drop her right uphill. You can see we've plucked all the branches off this side, left them on the far side, and we'll bring the excavator in here as well to give her a nudge. It's the biggest single tree I've ever fallen. Got a collection of crap here to do it with. We just don't want any mistakes, right?
I also found the beetles that made it to the ground too.
Yeah. It won't go totally to waste. The current plan is to take it to the farm and mill it into 1x5s, 1x5.5s, sticker stack, dry, and then I'll buy, I looked at the cost of paneling and stuff, and so I'll buy a molding head for Grandpa's old shaper that'll produce tongue and groove paneling, because there's a bunch of accent things that we'd like to do with tongue and groove, and you know, continuity. I don't think we're the reason it's dying, but I sure am sad if it was. We also have to lose this one too. It's by top, so it was pointed out to me it's not if that top breaks off, simply when. And that's just, you look around these Ponderosas out here and you can see where they've ripped off before, so it does not look healthy. It lost 50% of its needles last year out of the blue. Of course, Ponderosas occasionally do that, but they don't usually lose quite that much at once. I don't know. Maybe we'll band it or something. Who knows? But that is what we're up to here today at the river house. So I promised Shay that we'd give at least a good old college try falling this with his great-grandfather's old Homelite XL12. Well, actually both those are his great-grandfather's saws, and this one came out of a dumpster. But we're gonna start up with that one there. Is that your mom calling me? That is. Hello?
Now looking at this chain looks way too small for this big chunky tin thing.
Well, it's a Craftsman saw, so it's heavy and inefficient. How long a bar it could spin, I don't entirely know. If this one can't do it, then we'll go to the steel. If the steel, this is Grandpa Ken, my namesake. This is Grandpa Ed, my middle namesake. If this one won't do it, then we might have to take this bar off the 028 and put it on the 034 with all the auction saw with all the broken plastics and whatnot. But I don't know. I know this thing fired up on the third pull last time, so we're gonna give it a try again. Big slice and all. This is not what I do for a living, right? This is the biggest damn tree I've ever fallen. I'm terrified of it going to the house, so it's gonna go right through there. We don't want to go not that way. Got a bit of a prow in it. I can probably trim that off though. That saw, the blue one of Great Grandpa's, it just must be something wrong with how the chain is sharpened. It wanted to dive, and the steel of Great Grandpa's, I can't keep the back cover on it. So we're not in the best of shape either way.
That is the biggest tree. Yeah, that's pretty scary stuff, huh, Blue? That's the biggest tree I have ever fallen.
Good job. Congratulations.
I don't know that it's a happy day.
No, it's not.
It went where I wanted it to go.
Did the top hit the other tree in the back?
No, it's not that big.
This is right smack dab in the center of the tree.
What a joke of a cut, huh? Again though, this isn't what I do for a living. And it's relatively flat. We're running with the old saws that we were running with.
That piece right there on the wood pile, Mom, I counted it and it got to 107. I might be off on that, but I know it's at least maybe 100.
You are looking at some wall and ceiling paneling right here, I think.
And 100 and something even older than 7-year-old wall paneling.
I looked into turning it into flooring, and there it's not uncommon, especially in the South, but you know, everybody says that you gotta like the rustic look because there's no way to keep the floors from getting, well, kind of like our fir floors in the house we live in now. Just beat to hell. Golly, that was a big tree.
I realize this seems like somewhat of a silly thing to be making a big deal over, but I was quite surprised to get through this day without some tears. You know, chalk it up to Shay's idiosyncrasies, but basically the young man personifies his trees as living, breathing things, and the house is where it is because I had made a promise not to fall this tree. It literally set the foundation of the house. I would have rather have moved the house about 20 feet closer to where the tree stands now. But I promised not to, and it meant I was fine with that. It's his house too. But it meant that I really had to wait until he came to the conclusion that this thing had to come down before I could consider doing anything with it. And again, I understand that might sound odd, giving a 11-year-old boy that kind of power over the house placement, but you know, he is who he is, and I definitely love him for it. It became apparent that the tree was infected last summer as we were building. Pine Beetle have gotten in, and classic Pine Beetle, the top 1/3 of the tree immediately died. So, you know, this spring the beetles would mature, come out of the bark of the tree, and go and infect others. It has to come down. If anything, we waited too long, which meant that we had to peel and burn the bark, which was a whole ordeal in its own self. And we have done that. So we have stopped the spread of the pine beetle. But it really had to go to that point before this young man was willing to accept it. And this is not what I do for a living. I cut off all the branches on the sides I didn't want it to fall. I had an excavator there leaning on it. You can see me lift up the front of the tracks, so she was pushing pretty good. Partially because the excavator sinks. I was really surprised it was actually still standing there until I gave it the old heave-ho. But it was one of those situations where I just didn't want it to go an unexpected direction. Afterwards, we bucked it up. As per my agreement with Shay, he gets that butt log. That belongs to him. He gets to make all the decisions for it. And right now, he's just full of concepts and ideas about maybe a table, maybe a chair, maybe a couple of different things. But it's his. I get the rest of the tree, and I whacked it up. We turned the big branches into firewood, and I bucked it into 8'6" lengths because I figured there's quite a bit of taper in the tree, and we weren't going to be after any long stuff. This is going to be paneling or trim. So that's what I bucked it into. The tree did not stand long enough to get a lot of the famous blue staining, the blue pine that's so popular. But whatever, we got what we got, and it's out of my way.
7 o'clock, it's the end of a day. Used to be a tree right here, and about 3 feet of dirt. I'm not sure what the time lapse caught. That chunk belongs to Shay. That was my agreement with him. I'm not sure what he's got planned. He's talking about maybe a table or a chair. I'm sure I'll work with him on that. I believe this is the butt log. It is, I think, 2 full inches. Too big for the sawmill. So, I don't know how we'll get into that one. Maybe this is the butt log. I don't know how we'll get it in. I'm sure we'll figure out something. With that extra dirt, I've got another 5-6 feet of driveway out here. You notice there is another tree missing. Actually, there are 2. There was that little one that was buried about 8 feet, and then the one over there that, for whatever reason, Shay had girdled it 2 years ago. I don't know what he was doing. I don't mind that much. They're up there in that pile, which may or may not be on the agenda for tomorrow, depending on the wind and the weather. My wife solved one of the issues I was concerned with, is that I don't believe I'll ever get the secondary road attached up there. I think it's just too much for us to do. I just don't think it's a thing. I know it's a possibility, and I moved more rock when I built the house, but for a 4-wheeler access road. So I was concerned that the only way up the hill would be through the lawn, and then Danny pointed out that I could just carefully fill, maybe even stack a rock wall along the edge of that cliff right there, carefully fill this road, which used to come up here until I messed it up. And then it can go up and over. There's not enough fill up here right now to do that, unless I go farther up on the mountain and drag it down and throw it. But right now there isn't. The machine is peeing out the bottom a little bit, so we've clearly got a swing motor issue. But put a gallon or a 5-gallon can of diesel in it, and look how wet these lines are right through here. And I'd swear I got spray. So I would say that one of these monsters is none too happy with me right now. That ought to be a couple $100, huh? You think I could even get them for that? Maybe more. But you ready to go home, bud?
Yeah.
I think we got ham bone bean soup to look forward to. It's one of your mother's Pinterest. We're just gonna eat it, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. My broken track plate. They're not expensive, but I can't seem to find one around here. Anyways, I think we're done for now. That's right there. That's not a good thing. That is not a good thing. So we definitely have a pinhole leak in one of the lines. I'm sure we'll know which one for sure eventually.